Well, that's a heck of a way to come back.
It is.
It's been a little minute since we've been here and we've done this thing, but here we are.
It's one of those things where we're starting to kind of get used to this new, still getting used to this new program.
I still like it a lot.
I love it. That's awesome.
I mean, that we can go straight to YouTube after this. I mean,
the boys take on YouTube.
Oh, shut up and take my money, right? I mean, and they are taking our money for a considerable fortune every month, but I am very pleased. I mean, look, when you got nothing at all, $20.99 a month is
true. You know, but nowadays, $20 used to feel like, as a kid, you're like, I have infinite money.
I know.
And now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the 100 is now the new 20.
Yeah, which aggravates the ever living hell out of me.
Yeah, I wake up, breathe, and then I get a bill for $150. I'm like, wait, what did I do?
Stop charging me to live. You know, golly. Anyways, here we are. So not only are we back recording, but we're just, it's been a minute since we've actually recorded an episode.
Yeah,
right?
And
really since before I left for We Have Ways Fest.
Yeah, because we brought in the new system with our friend PCA.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always a great episode. He's always a pleasure to have on. I mean, he's
just great.
He is.
How do you not be He's just the best thing about him is he's easy work for a host. Peter, good morning. Well, anyways, let me tell you the history of people saying good morning. And then he just goes on his thing for 7 hours, and it's just good work, right?
I doubt this, but I imagine that if he ever were in a therapy session, and his therapist would be like, "Where did it all start?" He's like, "Well, let's go back to day one of human history."
Where shall we begin? Oh, okay.
I don't think
I see. Oh man. But anyways, here we are doing our homebrew history thing, which for right now, I feel like it's kind of just a little catch up, and a good time here in the very beginning of the episode to mention homebrew history, now proudly sponsored by Civil War Trails. Our friends at the Civil War Trails program have signs all across the country. Look at that. We even got the stuff up in the corner. We're doing it all. But Civil War Trails, sponsoring homebrew history, our old friends hanging out back in the past. Now here we are again. So my reminder to all of you, you can grab yourself a brochure online, go to civilwartrails.org and be able to find your way across Virginia, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Tennessee, Maryland. And you can really get into some great sightseeing and some really good tourist kind of attractions as well. What's fun was a couple weeks ago I was in Virginia for the Emerging Civil War Symposium. And afterwards my dad and I were like, all right, well, let's start heading back. But we wanted to make a couple stops, so we stopped and we were going to drive out to Appomattox, go see Appomattox Courthouse and see all that fun stuff, right? So we start driving out there, and it's like, oh wait, there's a Civil War trail for this, and that's the best part of it is that you can pull up a map or stop at any visitor center or historic site. Generally speaking, you're going to find one of these maps, and we followed Lee's Retreat. So it's a good 2.5-hour drive, but it was really it was great. It's like sign, trailblazer, sign.
And Drew and them do such a great job too.
They sure do. I mean, I got to do it firsthand the other day.
That's true. We saw that.
Putting in signs with Drew and
hey, we know that guy.
Hey, I've seen that man's back before.
Even they were like, he did a good job. He didn't burn down the sign. And I'm like, well, that's good.
See my big back from a mile away.
I will never unbig my back.
Yeah, pretty much.
But, I mean, it's insane. Like I saw the other day that there's a whole restaurant now that is completely and totally dedicated to peach cobbler. I'm like, wait a minute, stop. I can't, but I will.
Yeah, my
Well,
back keeps getting bigger,
yeah,
and the cobbler keeps getting better.
yeah. We've stepped up our cobbler game. And I'm not
Just to
talking.
make their backs bigger.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, but so anyways, we've got that going for us, right? So we've got Civil War trails. Always good to get together with Drew and Chris and Jason and the gang and really get some good work done. So they were here in Tennessee, but this was part of a 7-day, 63 sign installation trip. They installed 63 signs in 7 days.
Mm.
All
Any
right.
in the Piggly Wiggly parking lot?
No, but that one needs to visit soon because the fried chicken there is calling, right? How about that plate last night? My God, right? Shrimp and grits, fried chicken, Barks root beer. Jesus.
I gotta say, which I guess I have to ask, where'd the chicken come from?
From Piggly Wiggly.
Piggly Wiggly. Oh my gosh.
Why would it come from anywhere else?
Publix, honestly.
Publix has got okay fried chicken.
That's disappointing because well, I tell you what,
look, the chicken tenders are where it's at, but the fried chicken itself is just kind of
yeah. I'm a tender fella, and well, wait, hold on, pause. Hang
Are
on.
you a tender fellow?
Tender. I have a tender spot for tender of chicken, which is why my back is as wide as it is. But yeah, dude. I mean, Barks, shrimp and grits. What I mean, look,
Yeah.
Joey's cooking skills have dramatically increased from the first time that we've met, because it seems that our friendship was forged in the bonds of tummy aches.
Hey, look, if you can't give your friend food poisoning,
what can you do?
What can you do, right?
We used to be a real country.
Yeah. We had real rules,
Yeah, cowboys sometimes get tummy aches, but here we are.
Indeed we do.
Man, dude, we're gearing up for some pretty cool stuff, aren't we?
We are. But I mean, we're a history podcast, so let's keep talking about the past here for a second.
Sure.
Right? So we put out that recap episode of my trip to We Have Ways Fest, which, by the way, I think next year I'm adding one more American to our list. I think you have to come with us.
Oh yeah, it's a done deal.
I mean, start saving your schmeckles now because you're going to need them, but we're going to get you there, by God, because it is so worth it.
I know. I had the audacity to buy a house this summer, so I was a little.
Yeah, how dare you?
Cash, I know.
How dare you? But anyhow, so the whole trip was just kind of. It started off really rough, but after that, everything was great. Now, of course, I'm sporting my Spitfire schematics T-shirt because there's nothing quite so perfect. And then yesterday, oh my God, I got to tell you this. So I'm sitting there yesterday morning with Hattie. We're doing our breakfast in our little morning routine, and I flicked on the TV and I said, I don't know what I'm going to watch. And I started to watch Battle of Britain, but I just realized something that Amazon Prime no longer has Battle of Britain. You have to get MGM movie subscription, and it's like $7.99 a month. And I'm sorry, I have too many subscription services as it is. I can't add another thing to it, right? So, I mean, it's like that, or I could pay for cable. Well, let me think about it. But anyhow, I searched Battle of Britain, and they're like, oh, it was similar to Battle of Britain, Spitfire, the old documentary. So I threw that on. Let me tell you what, I have never seen that little 8-month-old light up the way she did when that Spitfire flew across the screen.
I think we're gearing her up for plane obsession because as a kid you had what you like planes and trains.
Of planes, of trains, tanks. I can't help myself.
Right. And now Hattie is probably going to be the most learned toddler that we know.
Yeah. So she just, the second that Griffin Merlin came into earshot, she just fixated on the screen. I was like, that's my girl.
I'm giving her 2 years to be able to build a Spitfire from scratch.
Yeah, if she can do it, I mean, hey, if I can do it from scrap wood, anyone can,
Yeah.
right? So we did that, but it was a reminder that that's what we saw while we were there, and I think maybe that may even have had something to do with it. She's like, I've heard that engine before. Yes, yes, I
So,
will tell my friends in the playpen. I remember this.
so, so we have Waves Fest was everything that you've ever dreamed of, huh?
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. So we left from there and we went down to Wiltshire where we got to we spent Tuesday with James. Went around Salisbury and all that stuff. Saw Salisbury Cathedral, really great. Just a good way to start the day. Then down to Bovington Tank Yard to the museum, and I got to tell you that
You know,
I left behind planes and went to tanks, and it was hard to turn around after that. It was just a great visit. It's a great museum.
one of the silver linings of COVID-19, if there ever was one, was us starting this,
Yeah,
and the people that we've come into contact with, James, Al, those are right at the forefront of my brain because we're talking about We Have Waves Fest, but
Peter, Victoria Taylor,
yeah, I mean all of them,
the gang.
um,
Alex
and
Ritchie. Oh my God, Alex Ritchie.
yeah,
We need
I
to get her
mean,
back on the show because
yeah, I mean there are all kinds of excellent historians that we've come into contact with, but to actually go across that big old pond and to meet some of them,
yeah,
I imagine,
that was cool. That's just
yeah,
super cool.
yeah,
Uh,
and
so we did Bovers and then
yeah,
down to Portsmouth where I lived up to my promise to Sam Cavell that I would go and see HMS Victory lest I be disowned.
yes,
So I went down to Victory. That was great, and then we went to the D-Day Story Museum in Portsmouth as well. But the kind of creme de la creme, if you would, of Portsmouth was that we scheduled a tour, and then James helped us really get something going. And we went up to Suffolk House, and I got to see the map room, got a little tour of
yes,
Eisenhower's and Monty's headquarters and campsite areas and everything. And then we went into the house itself, saw the map. It was great. And then off to London, where I hated myself for 3 days, and then up to Duxford, where I got the Spitfire Schematics T-shirt and all that other fun stuff. So all in all, it was a great trip. We get back, we're here 3 days, and I had to turn around and go off to Virginia. So life in the big city, right?
no joke.
This is what they said being a professional historian was like. So I actually quite liked it.
Yeah,
Um,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
so we did England, and then I was gonna have Catherine and Hattie come with me to Virginia, and before we even got on the plane to come back, Catherine goes, "I don't think I can do.
Ah,
I don't think I can get in the car and drive another, 12 hours or whatever it was."
understandable.
So my dad came.
Yeah,
Your old dad and I, we
that's right.
were frolicking around Virginia. So we went to the symposium, and I got to tell you, Emerging Civil War, what just a great group of people.
Hmm.
Um, so you've got some old stalwarts like Brian Steele Wills. He wrote the great biography of George Thomas. He's done so much research on Nathan Bedford Forrest. Brian Steele Wills was there. My good pal Brian Jordan was there from Sam Houston, and then Neil Chatelain, Chris Makowski, old pal Chris Makowski. He kind of it's his weekend. It's his show. So I got to spend the weekend with them, and then Tyler McGraw, our pal, the Unfiltered Historian, and Evan Portman from ABT and ECW. I mean, it was so great to see some of the old timers, right? John
Hmm.
Hennessy and Brian Steele Wills, and then you get the new people like Evan and Tyler and myself coming along. And what was great was that everybody had a place at the table,
Sure.
right? There wasn't, well, I've actually been doing this for 30 years, and I know so much infinitely more than you do. Um, there was no imposter syndrome, right? Like everything just worked. It just worked.
Yeah.
It was good. Then we headed over to Strange Rays Brewery for some post symposium ales, and I got to tell you, I'm going to avoid Mexican taco trucks
Oh,
for a very long time.
I bet.
Yeah.
But was it
La pupuseria a la Don Jose. Don't
don't do it.
don't do it. Don't do it. Don't fool yourself into thinking that you're going to be okay.
Because I would.
It tasted good. Everything else was
Rough.
not advisable.
I think it's.
And then to have to hop in the car and drive home the next day.
Yeah, not a good recipe. I definitely think it's sort of in the historical blood to, after a conference or a symposium, to find the local watering hole and do as much damage to both your liver and your wallet as humanly possible. I remember going to the LHA and afterwards doing a panel on like public history, and went to Chili's afterward, because quite literally the LHA was held in Baton Rouge a couple years ago, and it was at a hotel that you could literally just walk across the street and there's a Chili's. And for those of you who've never experienced a Chili's, you can get like a presidential margarita between like 2 and 4 p.m. Central Standard Time for like $5. So if you drink enough of them, I'm sure that
I really don't want you to sit here and sing the praises of a place like Chili's, other than the fact that it's a cheap date.
It is. I'm saying
that's it. That's all it offers.
Margarita, dude. I mean, that is almost as economically feasible as the $1 Ritas at Applebee's. But
I'm going to give Chili's one other thing: the sampler powder.
Oh yeah, I get that every time.
Yeah, come on. Yeah. You're telling me I could have chicken tenders, chicken wings, celery, cheese popper thingies, and chicken quesadillas? Come on.
Yeah, come on. I mean that's like perfect drunk food.
Yeah. But which is great, because you've just consumed your $2 presidential margarita.
That's Way to go. Thank goodness BRPD wasn't called to have to, carry me out.
Which I feel like is why we started a podcast called Homebrew History, because we could talk history and then almost immediately the marketing kind of works for itself, doesn't it?
It does. When I describe our podcast, like, what do you guys do on there? I was like, well, we talk about all things brew and all things history. So if you like adult libations and a little bit of history, well, check us out. Here we are.
Every now and again, we get serious.
You say that. We took a brief hiatus, as most of you already know. But since we've been back, I'll tell you what, I've had a lot of people reach out to me and say, I'm glad you guys are back. And that's heartwarming, because it's like, when I think of myself, they're like, I'm like, I'm doing this because I like it, but to have people reach out and say, like, hey, when are you guys doing your next episode? I'm like, oh, you're actually listening. You actually care.
Wait, there are people that listen to the show?
Yeah, that's odd. We have,
and that we have a whole 6 subscribers on our YouTube channel. I mean, come on. Hello. Just 994 more of them until it can be a monetized platform.
That's right. Hey,
tell your friends.
Spread the word.
Share your drinks. Tell your friends. Anyhow, so ECW was fantastic. Then get back to work, and then Civil War Trail shows up. So it's been a whirlwind, hectic month for me. And then at the same time at work, for those of you that don't know, I actually do this as a day job. Day job has me planning a lecture series every month leading up to the anniversary of the Battle of Franklin, and then a whole slew of stuff the month of the anniversary, and then one thing the weekend after the anniversary, and then another lecture series in December to close out the year. So what I mean to tell you is I've stopped drinking things that slow me down, and I've only started drinking things that fill me and speed me up, like infinite amounts of coffee. And thank God for my mother, the saint of a woman that she is. She sent me like 5 pounds of CDM coffee and chicory. So I've been putting that in, plus some of the instant coffee that we brought home from England, because it's basically just espresso. I've been putting 3 or 4 scoops of that in with the CDM, and do you feel like this is energetic? Do you feel like there's an energy here? Do you feel like my heart's about to come out of my chest? Because yeah, it is. It is.
I can smell it from here.
I feel that way. I feel that way a lot right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've been sick because
Jesus Christ, dude. So this is now my 3rd time with COVID.
Yeah.
I mean, it's over now, but the hangover is for real. I still have a trickling cough from time to time.
Yeah.
And
I've had it twice since I had it bad, and I gotta say the first time's gonna be hard to beat. That was pretty rough.
Yeah.
Right. Because that was before they had actual medicine where they were like, hey, you can treat it with this.
Yeah.
They were just like, go home. Don't die.
Go home and don't die. Do whatever it takes to not.
I'll give that a shot. I'll try that recipe out. That seems like a winning strategy.
Do whatever it takes to stay in the present tense and not to be referred to in the past tense.
Yeah. Please don't upgrade your subscription to death, please.
Don't downgrade your life subscription to death.
Thank you. Thank you. Don't cancel the life subscription. So now you're better and you're getting ready to start classes this week.
Yeah,
right?
we actually started last week.
Okay.
But it's been fun, and I mean fun, and
That's quotes. That's quotes. Heavy quotes.
Yeah, we switched programs, and it's kind of been a little bit of a mess getting everything all squared away. And there's a few students who are just kind of missing, but once we get them all figured out, we're going to be right as rain.
Just simply don't exist anymore.
That's true. And it's weird because
captured missing.
Yes. It's weird because I was technically, I taught 2 summer classes. So getting back into it, I'm like, I was just doing this, so I'm not really.
You've really only taken 2 weeks off.
Yeah. Here we are. But
so you're teaching American history.
Yeah, I'm actually teaching the first half of American history for the first time in like a year. I've been teaching the first and second halves of Western civilization for the past couple of years because here in Louisiana, there's 2 things that our legislators can cut from our state budget, and it's medical care or higher education. So they can either kill your grandparents, they can either kill grandma, or they're gonna, make the younger generation suffer. Which honestly, I've been calling for a Louisiana constitutional convention for a long time now, and now that they're talking about it, which they are talking about it, but they're wanting to do it so quick, and because I think it's going to be just an easy fix. I'm like, it's not going to be an easy fix at all.
You need to just go ahead and throw the whole thing out and try again.
You may as well just kind of
have your Annapolis convention decide to throw it all away, move this thing to Philadelphia, shut the doors, close the windows, swear everybody to a blood oath, and then just throw the whole damn thing away.
Yep. So basically, commit treason, but not,
just to Louisiana, treason. Which I feel like gets you a nice cup of gumbo, maybe.
Not even. Probably a can of Blue Runner red beans, which honestly is sacrilegious. Blue Runner is way too salty. Just
okay. Hear me out. Add your own beans and water to a can of Blue Runner.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's what Blue Runner is.
Throwing ham. That infinitely better once that's done. But if you're the type of person that just opens up a can of Blue Runner red beans, pours it on rice, and you're like, I did it. Please.
Yeah, those are what you call supplemental beans. They're not just, I don't know. It hurts my heart when people are like, I'm going to open up this can of red beans and then put it in a saucepan and heat it up on the stove and then pour it over some rice and say, yeah, you did it.
Have you considered doing any research on the history of red beans? Because I know that's something you had talked about, right?
Yes. So to go with my big backness.
Now we're on the history portion of homebrew.
That's right. We
It
got
only
here.
took us 25 minutes to get here.
And it's a history of a food item. So the Big Back Boys of homebrew history. Ooh, I like that. But yeah, when it comes to red beans is something very cheap. It's delicious. It's filling, and it actually has its or the beginnings of what we know today as a good pot of Monday red beans. Because there's always this question, especially for those individuals who are not from Louisiana, why do Louisianians eat red beans on Monday, and why is it sacrilege to cook red beans on any other day that's not Sunday or Monday?
Yeah.
It's like, well, Sunday was usually what they call the wash day. You wash all your clothes, and red beans was something that you could just kind of throw into a pot and boil all day long until they just become a yummy pot of deliciousness. And it actually,
I'm gonna be honest, you're making me really want some red beans right now.
I'm making me a pot right now. That's what's on the menu for tonight.
All right, now do you do fried chicken or pork chop?
Fried chicken.
Fried chicken? Okay.
Yeah.
I know some people that do a pork chop. I mean, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna knock that, but
The good news is that we're not living in the 1700s, and I can at least afford a couple pieces of fried chicken. But if I don't have either a pork chop or fried chicken, what I have to have, and no matter what, either one that I do have, I have to have cornbread.
Yeah, break it up, put it on top.
Got to.
See, I'm white bunny bread.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Slather that thing in some butter, pour some red beans on top.
Yeah. But see, what I like to do is I like to make cornbread and then take some softened butter and put some honey in there and kind of mix that up, make a honey butter, and just
All right, now let me throw you something. All right, this is going to sound like it's straight off the menu from Popeyes. That's because it is. A tortilla full of red beans and rice and a piece of fried chicken. You got it. It's walking, talking.
Funnily enough, I can't remember. If I remember correctly, which I may not be, but back before I switched to outright history for my undergraduate degree, I was stuck in the dark days of education.
Yep.
Which taught you everything you don't need to know about education because you'll never use again. There are very few things.
I would like to take full credit here for pushing you finally to join us in the dark ranks.
It was weird because I started
on the dark side. We have cookies.
Yeah, they do, and honey butter cornbread. I started off in history, and I was like, you know what, I probably need to do education to get a teaching job somewhere. But then I got to like my last semester, and the praxis was holding me back, and I had taken the praxis, got my results back, and I was 3 points shy from passing it. And I come to find out later on that they actually readjusted the scores for the praxis, and you only needed a 155 instead of a 160 to pass. And I had a 157, but they won't retroactively accept that, which is great.
So you're still just hanging out.
Yeah, great stuff. So as you can imagine, if you're 3 points, away from passing an exam that cost you like $175 to take, it put me in a bad mood because you know what? I was a broke college student. I still am kind of hurting from that, but we're getting there. We're getting better. But I was pissed off to say the least. And I was like, you know what? I want Popeyes. I screw everything else. Everything else can, burn. I
think I know where you're going with the story.
So we pull up, and I'm like, I'll take a 5-piece tender, mashed potatoes, lemonade, go on about my business.
Wait, can I get the lady on the microphone, please?
Yes.
I'm sorry, we're all out of chicken.
And I'm like,
all we got is tenders.
No, she said, we don't. Oh, what did she say?
She we're out of chicken.
Yeah, we're all out of chicken. And I was like,
All we got is tenders.
Okay. So I was like, I'll take a 5-piece tender. And she goes, we're out of chicken. I'm like, that's all you have. Okay. That's like going to McDonald's and saying, I want a burger. And like, we're out of burgers.
We're all out of Big Mac. Sorry.
Yeah, what are you doing still open? That's actually a different Popeye store that you're talking about. But this time, so I wanted a 5-piece tender. I think Kaylee wanted like a 3-piece tender, something like that. So they just gave us our food. I didn't even check. I'm like, I'm ready to just go home, eat, go to bed. We go home. We go to the apartment we were living in at the time. And when we get there, it is the complete wrong order. But what I will say is whoever ordered what we got has a bigger back than me, and that's saying something. But what we did get were 3 of those little tender wraps with red beans and rice. That's the first time I'd ever had that.
Yeah.
And it was just like a revelation.
Yeah. All right. Now do it inside of a well-buttered piece of bunny bread.
It is. I imagine. I get it. I see why. But if we had the opportunity to take a time machine, go back to the late 1700s, and introduce to the French-speaking Haitians who originally brought red beans from the Caribbean, and said, "Hey, here's a loaf of bunny bread. Take that, wrap up your red beans." We'd probably be burned at the stake. So
we'd also introduce them. Really, it comes out of the Caribbean.
Yeah. So obviously, a lot of Caribbean food too. And actually, when Kayla and I got married, we went to Jamaica for our honeymoon, and a significant portion of Caribbean food.
Jamaican me crazy.
Yeah, Jamaican, yeah, crazy.
I hate myself for that. I thought of it the second you said I went to Jamaica, and I was like, I gotta use that.
Insert bad joke here. Yeah.
The only thing StreamYard doesn't let me do is put in boo.
Yeah, boo. They should. But a lot of Caribbean food revolves around rice and beans, or rice and peas, plantains, things like that. But it wasn't uncommon, especially for a lot of New Orleanian housewives, to add their own specific touch to red beans, whether it be leftover ham or some sort of pork product. It's not uncommon for me to add pork tasso into my red beans, and it adds a little bit of a salty ham flavor. Or if you have a ham hock or ham bone, all of those are perfect. But there are some people who include.
Would you explain to the masses what tasso is? I know what tasso is, but explain to the masses.
Yes, it's like and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but tasso is more like a salted pork.
Salted and seasoned. It's pretty spicy. It's got some heat to it.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of like if you took andouille and didn't put it into like a sausage casing, it'd kind of be similar to something like that. Yeah. But it's a rarity that if you go to anywhere in the city of New Orleans on a Monday and not smell some sort of red beans, it's not a very uncommon thing. But yeah, Mondays, like Garfield always said, Mondays suck. But
except if you're eating a pot of red beans.
It's true. But on Sunday, you soak all of your beans, and then on Monday, you actually cook them, but you can cook them all day long until they're super tender.
And sometimes they actually stop being beans. They just kind of become a sauce all on their own.
You do.
And that's my favorite way of red beans, is where they have ceased their bean-like structure. I know we're getting very, very theoretical here. They cease being a bean and they become just this gravy, essentially. Just this molten brown and red gravy full of shredded up ham. I've seen some people put chicken in red beans. I'm gonna stop and draw the line there. Chicken gets too stringy for me to say, okay, all right, but put some pork, put some sausage, got some ham in there. All right.
So
red beans on rice.
Yes.
What rice are you using? What's the story? Because I know that there's a lot of like cultural differences between various parts of the state and then New Orleans, and then various enclaves of New Orleans use various brands of rice. Did you get into that in your research at all? Why are we doing this? Anyhow, keep going, because now I'm really hungry and I really want red beans.
So it is funny. So Louisiana is pretty well known for growing long grain white rice. And it's not uncommon that crawfish farms actually coincide with rice cultivation, which is sort of a bit macabre for the crawfish, because we make dishes like, crawfish etouffee. So it's like,
rice.
yeah, so it's like we are raising this crawfish next to this rice, and then eventually we're gonna eat you together. Like this is what you and I make this joke, but it is
came into the world with one another and they're leaving it.
Yeah. I don't crawfish don't know how good their booty tastes. They don't.
See, I can only have it in like etouffee though. Like I can't go to a crawfish boil. I can't just eat a crawfish. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I blame it on my love of planes and trains, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
I can have it in soups. I can have it in like a crawfish soup. There's stew. I can have it corn crab bisque with. I can do crawfish sauce. But when it's just on its own inside the red little devil, I can't do it.
So obviously, I have a Yankee side of my family. They're my in-laws, and there's times that they've come to Louisiana, and my father has done an excellent job at boiling crawfish for them. And the first time that they witnessed it, they were like, "You people are nothing more than a bunch of knuckle-dragging barbarians," because they're like, to explain
your big pot, your big fire.
Yeah, I mean, to explain to someone that, hey, I'm taking this sea bug, okay, I'm going to boil it in some seasonings. I'm going to put some corn, some potatoes, some celery, all kinds of some sausage in there.
You ever throw onions in? Onions? No?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Onions, oranges, whatever. And once they come out, and they're all on a big, long table, and all of a sudden you pick up a sea bug and you kind of split it in half. And some of us, myself included, will suck the head of a crawfish and then eat the booty meat. And it's delicious. But if you tell someone that, they're like, what is wrong with you? They're like, we are living in the 21st century. Okay. You don't have to eat sea meat, sea bugs, which they are.
Go to the store and get the crawfish tails already frozen and just thaw them out. Toss them in some sauce. Good to go.
You could. But I will say that if your sinuses aren't draining after a crawfish boil, you didn't do it right. It's got to be hot.
No, I'll say last night we did shrimp and grits, which is another one of those kind of classic sort of Creole New Orleans style dishes. I think probably the best pot of grits I've ever made in my life. Heavily salted cream and butter, and then toss in some grits. Just let it go for a couple minutes, 20 minutes, I guess, whatever. But then oh God, my mom brought up like 2 pounds of shrimp last time she was here.
Goodness.
Stuck them in the freezer. So then last night we pulled them out, thawed them out. Catherine cleaned them. I cooked them up in some onions, some garlic, some bell pepper, some celery, and then just kind of let that run for about a half hour or so. And then, oh man, that fried chicken from Piggly Wiggly.
And it is one of those things.
Bart's root beer, though, that really.
Oh, yeah.
But Bart's in the bottle.
Yeah.
Got me in the bottle. If it's in the can, I'll still drink it. Don't get me wrong.
Begrudgingly.
Got me in the bottle.
Yeah.
There's something super powerful about that. But anyways, let's get back on the history of red beans here, because, I mean.
Yeah, we were talking about rice, right?
Yeah.
So depending on, and there's, different cultures use different styles of rice.
Right.
Some use basmati rice. Some use jasmine rice. And I try to be as traditional as possible and especially when I do it with my red beans, I'll try to stick to Louisiana long grain white rice. But I have found that jasmine rice with red
Yes.
beans works really well.
Hmm.
But I've cause see basmati rice we've kind of been using for like Indian food, and it's
Right.
perfect for that. But it's strange that rice is essentially like it varies very well. I don't know. I'm not a rice expert, but because so if I said rice is rice, there's going to be someone out there in the ether that's like, no, that's not right.
Actually,
Yeah,
actually,
yeah, no, rice varies, exponentially, but it's all used for different things,
right.
and it works. It always seems to work perfect, with
Yeah.
that. So I try to
And
use the long grain white rice.
there is something about, because born and raised there, lived there my whole life, right? There's something about knowing what you're going to have to eat on Monday night.
Hmm.
There's something, it's like, all right, what are we going to have Tuesday through Sunday? Because we know what we're going to have on Monday,
Yeah.
right? Like, there's not a question. Um, going to school in New Orleans, we knew what the school lunch was going to be. Monday was going to be red beans and rice,
Yep.
which meant, in theory, I might have red beans and rice for lunch and for dinner and for breakfast the next day.
And then some.
And
And
then for lunch for 2 days afterwards.
well, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, put yourself in the late 1700s, and you are one of those, French-speaking Haitians that are taking part in the Haitian Revolution,
Mhm.
and you're like, well, some of us have the ability to, to escape, this revolution and make our way into southern Louisiana. And they're like, I'm bringing my beans.
Bringing beans with me.
Yeah,
I
I'm bringing
wonder.
my. I don't know. It's funny the history of food that way,
Yeah.
because had that not happened, would Louisiana, you know, or would red beans and rice be a cultural staple today? Don't know.
I don't know. I mean, what I'm gonna try and do here, what I'm gonna try and do here is I've just downloaded a picture of red beans and
Hmm.
I'm gonna try.
Right.
I'm gonna try and throw it up here with us. I wonder, can I do this? He
Oh,
wonders.
well,
Oh,
so
oh,
scientists say
no.
that you can't smell an image, but if Joey can put one up here, I guarantee you every Louisianian or anyone who's ever had New Orleanian red beans will be able to smell it.
Hmm. I wonder. I
It's not
wonder.
uncommon to, especially for Cajuns, Creoles, and the like, to use the Holy Trinity, of which we've come up with onion, celery, and bell pepper, and the Pope, as we'll call it, is garlic, and we
Mhm.
do all of those things, and it's just incredible.
No, let's see if I can add a background real quick. That might do it. That could be fun. That could be a good way to do this. Uh, let's see. What did I title that? Titled it something. Haha, there we go. All right, I'm gonna put this red beans in as our background, and then pull us away from the screen for just a second. Let's see. Look at that, red
Yeah.
beans and rice.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
red beans anyhow. I
Yeah.
mean, look at that. That's where it's at.
They look like they've
Really
used
does it good. Look at that sausage right there. You can see some onion hanging out.
bell pepper,
Um,
looks like some celery, maybe.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, this is from a website called Cajun Diaries. So let's not fool ourselves. I hope they're good at
Yeah.
what they do.
I
Um,
mean, they look like what they're supposed to look like. And at first, I thought I thought the wooden spoon in that picture was like a ham hock or something like
for
that.
just a second. For just a second.
And I was like, that's a little grainy to be a piece of meat.
Yeah. But I mean, there is something special about it, right? It's a cultural thing. Um, you know, and two, it's given birth to great expressions among that, like beans on rice, but there's something special about it. There's a smell,
There
right?
is. I mean,
Um,
it just it fills the home, and it feels loving.
Right. And then too, the other thing of it is it's a sustenance meal, right?
Oh,
So
100%.
it's something that comes from enslaved culture, comes from free culture, breathes its way into New Orleans culture, and then you see it as a food that you could eat during the Depression because sans the meat, you've still got beans, right? And you've got the rice. You can do everything else. You just necessarily won't throw all of this various cuts of meat in it. But if you're thinking about it in Depression era food study, food use, you're going to use every single piece, right? So if you've got that leftover ham hock, you're throwing it in the beans.
100%.
You've got all the kind of the tasso, all that pork shoulder that you can't really necessarily use on its own. You throw that in there too. Oh God, we can talk about red beans and rice all day long. Anyways, let's talk really briefly here because we're winding down to the last couple minutes here. Let's talk really briefly about what's coming up because not every episode is going to be devoted to red beans and rice. Now, granted, I think I know what I have to make for dinner tonight.
Right.
But look at what I'm boning up on. Look at there. Look at there.
Arnhem books, Myth and Reality.
It's almost like it's almost time for the anniversary, which means it's almost time for us to talk about it. We're solidly what is that? 12 days, 13 days? I don't know. We're not that far removed. We've got to get moving before September 17th, marking the 80th anniversary of Operation Market Garden. You want the menu of what you have to expect, or do you want a little teaser, a little preview here?
What we should do, because we have to keep our listeners coming back. So if we spilled the beans, you see what I did there? I spilled the red beans. I know. I do what I can. Boo.
Disgusting.
It's got a thumbs down from me, and I said it. But not to spill the whole beans, but we got to get you coming back. So let's put out a little teaser for now and get them geared up to what's coming next.
What you want? Hosts or topics, or guests or topics?
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. See, that's the thing. I
feel like we should, because I think a couple years ago we used to do this thing where we'd be like, guess who comes on the show? Here's the topic, but guess who's coming? So let's look at topics. Let's keep the guests.
Let's do topics. All right, let's do topics. So we're going to have an episode about American airborne units in Operation Market Garden, which we spend so much time talking about the British paratroopers and the British armor that's involved. We almost never remember. I mean, I almost never remember to talk about the Americans that are involved. That sucks as an American, but it shouldn't be surprising. As I pointed out to my father at the D-Day Memorial, there's a giant statue of Dwight Eisenhower, giant bust of Omar Bradley and George Patton. You know who I took my picture with?
Omar. Monty. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah. All these unit signs for all the American units and divisions and corps involved in Operation Overlord. Guess what I took my picture with? 30 Corps, 3rd Division.
As you do.
Anyways, so we're going to have that. We're going to have American airborne units involved in Market Garden. We've got another episode that'll be done on the heroes and weapons of Market Garden. That's one that I actually got super excited about when we managed to sling that one together. And then let's see, what else do we have? Memorializing Market Garden. So how it's been remembered, what's been preserved, what's been written and studied on,
which is an increasingly important aspect of modern history. Because I don't really want to get into this now, but I know you've probably seen it. There's been a lot of growing anti-Semitism, a lot of xenophobia on Twitter as of late. And the only thing I'm going to really say about that for now, and that might be another episode that we talk about.
You mean like when we talk about the Yanofska camp with Waitman Wade Bourne next week? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe they. Um, don't. I don't know. I posted this video on Facebook that I posted several years ago, and it's a lot of high octane fascist style rhetoric that seemingly makes sense to some people, but don't fall for it. They have not your special interests at heart, and use fear as a weapon, a
Yeah.
political weapon.
And we're doing that thing where we're getting ready for an election here
Yeah,
in the States. And, that's fear as a weapon, and fear and rhetoric has become the kind of default for one half of the political arena, and the other half is still trying to tell people that there's hope. So we'll
yeah.
see.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. So, anyways, we've got those things coming down the pipe, which I'm extremely excited about. You know that when it comes to Second World War, I've got my aviation fix, but then I have to get my market garden fix and my 30 core fix. So we'll talk about that, and then two, we're also going to talk a little bit about this book by Sebastian Ritchie, Arnhem: Myth and Reality. So we'll dive into that, and still hoping to line up one or two more. We've got, I should mention too, we've got another guest who's going to come onto the show for our Market Garden Week. And I say this at risk of screwing up his name, but I'm pretty sure it's James Daly or Daly or Daly. I can't remember. And I've never heard it said. So I'm going to take the out on that one. But James has just written a new book on Market Garden, and on specifically, let's pull, because what I want to do is I want to sell this the right way. He's just written a new book on the liberation of Europe, and it's all of the various proposed airborne drops that precede Market Garden. So Linnet, Comet, all those things. So we'll talk with James very, very soon, and get his
Got to.
thought. Fun week or so, a series of episodes, and what I think we'll do is so you get 3 days to listen to every episode.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, what the hell? We got nothing else going on. All right, Bo, what's in the old cup?
So unfortunately, I have to go to work after this.
Um,
So what I wish was in my cup was a chilled glass of bourbon, but instead it is water, unfortunately. How about you?
my high octane coffee.
High octane.
The high octane coffee. This is the super 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 leaded version of coffee.
Yes.
It's got some Nescafe instant coffee in there, and CDM coffee and chicory, and I think whatever was left in the pot from yesterday, which was the Javalia, that breakfast roast.
Yeah.
The three of those really kind of just fuel in the tanks right now. So that's what I've got there, and that's there's our what's in the cup. We will be back very, very shortly next week with slam bam 4-episode recording in a day.
That's right. We're gonna be on the ball.
We haven't done that since we were, pups at this. Anyways, just a reminder: go visit civilwartrails.org. Plan your next trip around where you can follow history. Get outside, explore, take pictures with those signs, and know that if you use that hashtag sign selfie, you're helping bring awareness to one of the world's largest outdoor museums. If you come to Tennessee, you've got close to 300, 400 signs to take a look at, and I can tell you where there's 63 new ones over the last 6 days, and I can tell you personally, point you to 6 brand new signs that have just gone in the Spring Hill area. And when you visit their website, when you get out on the trails, when you send some money their way, you help to continue this program, which is, what an educational tool to have out there for people to be able to walk into a place or walk into a space and understand what happened there, or see some of those great vignettes of the American Civil War that we so often kind of look for. What's a good talking point? What's an interesting story? What happened here? What makes this place so special? Find out with Civil War Trails.
Absolutely. And for our listeners and now our watchers on YouTube, if there is a culturally significant meal like red beans and rice that are to Louisiana on a Monday, comment it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, now YouTube.
Yep.
We want your comments. We want your likes. We want your subscriptions, of which it is absolutely free to subscribe to us on YouTube and every platform that we've got. But the more you subscribe to us, well, potentially the possibilities are endless for us. So here we are.
What do you? I'm happy to be here. I'm glad to be here. I'm honored to be here. I could use the cash.
That's right. Use a few. We have ways best.
Well, guys, Bo, always a pleasure. It was good to just catch up. It's been a minute, and to talk about red beans and rice. My God,
that's right.
You want to red beans and rice and everything nice? That's going to be the title of this episode.
Red beans and rice and everything nice.
Yep, that's it. That's going to do it. And that is going to do it for us at Homebrew History. We'll see you back next week for more fun stuff. So, Bo, cheers.
Cheers, everybody.